Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and my YouTube channel has the stupidest name of any XRP YouTube channel on the planet. Bragging rights. I got it. Here's what we're going to talk about today. New corridors for on-demand liquidity utilizing XRP as a bridge currency. That's what's going on here. And other interesting tidbits. This is all about Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, sitting down with MoneyGram CEO Alex Holmes. So I want to talk a bit about some of the quotes from Alex Holmes. I want to talk a bit about the new corridors utilizing XRP and the impact that will have. Got a couple tweets from some of the XRP community. And then I'm going to wrap up the video with this little gem here, which I actually genuinely enjoyed. So there's this article from the Daily Hodl. And it's titled, Viral Video Shows Bitcoin Newbie Surviving on Planet Earth, as opposed to what other planet? For 24 hours without cash or credit, only Bitcoin. And I went ahead, I read the article, and then I did watch the video. It's right down here, so you can actually, it's linked from this particular article. And it was actually genuinely entertaining. I've never heard of this guy. I swear, if you click on this video and you watch, you can't necessarily tell in the picture of him on the screen right now, the little thumbnail there. I swear to God, when you see this guy face on, it is a young Gordon Ramsay. I kid you not, it's like spot on. This is a younger doppelganger. You got to check it out. But anyway, before we get any further here, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you would like to go on magical XRP related journeys with me a day, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. This can be part of your life on a regular basis. Isn't that awesome? All right, let's dig in. So this first blog is from Ripple, part of their Ripple Insight series. Swell 2019. MoneyGram CEO says 10% of transactions between Mexico and U.S. Use on-demand liquidity. Now, that part in the title there, we actually did already know, but there's other stuff in here that we did not, and is interesting. In June 2019, MoneyGram, one of the world's largest money transfer companies, announced its plans to implement on-demand liquidity, ODL, through RippleNet. And for those of you, I'm sure pretty much everybody listening knows at this point, but at some point I'm going to stop saying this, but this used to be called XRapid, which utilizes XRP. It was rebranded, renamed from XRapid to on-demand liquidity. So when you hear ODL or on-demand liquidity, indeed, that is XRP being referenced within that, most certainly. Less than 6 months later, MoneyGram chairman and CEO Alex Holmes announced on stage at Swell 2019 that the company is currently moving 10% of its transaction volume through ODL between the United States and Mexican borders and planned to expand into 4 more corridors by the end of this year. Now, I've been trying to, put all of the information together as it pertains to, well, really everything from Swell, frankly, but especially as it pertains to corridors, and I get little bits here and there. And so I did talk about the Australian corridor because I found that one kind of surprising. So there's a new Australian corridor that's going to the Philippines, if memory serves. That's the one I reported on yesterday. But there are additional ones. Take a look at this before I proceed with this article. So this is from XRP Crypto Wolf. Thank you very much, sir, for sending this tweet of yours to my inbox. And check this out. Ripple's on-demand liquidity corridors expanded to Australia, with Brazil coming soon. So we got Australia and Brazil. Plans for additional corridors across Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Africa. That's what it stands for. Europe, Middle East, and in Africa, and Latin America are in progress for 2020. Sorry, that tripped me up a little bit because he wrote it out as APAC, EMEA, and LATAM, and I wasn't really familiar with that. And to be honest, I had to Google those before I looked this up, and I still flubbed it. But there we go. Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Latin America. I'm going to try and remember that. Anyway, Brad Garlinghouse said, we're excited to continue this into 2020 for the expansion of on-demand liquidity into new markets. And this is rather substantial because, of course, all these new corridors require market makers, like exchanges, for example, which must hold XRP in order to be paired up with Ripple. Now, of course, when exchanges, market makers hold XRP, that affects supply and demand because that must be held. Isn't that something? So imagine, given that there are literally tens of thousands of corridors in which MoneyGram transacts, just imagine when there's sufficient liquidity the world over, what that would mean in terms of supply and demand for XRP. And then that doesn't even include, since there would be, presumably, this is my investment thesis, utility matters, investors would see this and then continue to, as they learn about cryptocurrencies and XRP, over time, speculators and institutional investors would come in. Because if you know something has staying power, at least you'd believe it has staying power if businesses need it to conduct their business models. Well, there you go, right? I think that's a fair guess. Anyway, in conversation with our CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, Holmes shared his thoughts on the current remittance industry landscape, how blockchain and digital assets are being leveraged within MoneyGram, and the benefits of using on-demand liquidity. Now, I'm going to hop over to this piece from AMB Crypto. It's on the same topic, titled, RippleNet transactions pairing with on-demand liquidity will be magic, says MoneyGram CEO. At the recent Ripple Swell conference in Singapore, CEO Brad Garlinghouse spoke to the CEO of MoneyGram, Alex Holmes, with the latter revealing that almost 10% of the volume that normally flows into Mexico is being pushed through Ripple's on-demand liquidity platform. He also mentioned that MoneyGram had opened up 4 new corridors, which the firm is now beginning to scale. Here's a quote now. "It's working extremely well, and I think that those will continue to ramp in the coming weeks and months. At the end of the day, I think pairing off our transaction flows with the currency flows really gives a lot of efficiency and scale to what we do." According to Holmes, one of the most inefficient things about the settlement process for companies based in the United States is having to revert everything back into US dollars. He added that there should be more conversations about optimizing fund flows on a per transaction basis, while being able to pair them back off in terms of settlement as well. Now, this next part I was not ready for. This kind of surprised me. It's a technicality type of thing, but let me read this quote and then I'll explain. So here's a quote from Alex Holmes, MoneyGram CEO. "We have not been a big user of RippleNet yet." And so I read that and I was like, huh? It's one of those things where like a head tilt sideways, what? Because, of course, I know they're scaling up on-demand liquidity, but they're using it. And so I was like, what do you mean? Right? He says, I think we've been focused on-demand liquidity, the platform there, and the successes we've had, that we really haven't had a chance to think differently about that. And so here's what I had always thought, and I've been in this space for 2 freaking years. Now, of course, the technology offerings were previously called Xcurrent for payments, XRapid for settlement, and then XVIA for corporates. And so RippleNet was supposed to be the sum of all of those things here. And so with MoneyGram explicitly using on-demand liquidity, previously XRapid, utilizing XRP, I thought that was part of RippleNet. So am I mistaken and it's no longer considered part of RippleNet for some reason? Or did Alex Holmes perhaps not word this quite accurately, and he's already using part of RippleNet, which would be on-demand liquidity, and he's just referencing the payments portion formerly known as Xcurrent? Tell me who's right and who's wrong. I legitimately don't know. I mean, you would think that the MoneyGram CEO knows what he's talking about, and Moon Lambo's probably just wrong. It's just a guy on YouTube with a stupid YouTube channel name, so I should be wrong, but I haven't seen that. And if that is the case, when did that change? Because in the past, the way RippleNet had always been referenced was the sum of those 3 parts. All of them, whether combined together in that sum or individually, was, from my perspective, always considered RippleNet. So please tell me what you think below, and provide a link if you have one proving whatever your point of view is. All right. Anyway, Holmes added that no matter what happens with the world in terms of crypto account services and payments, cash is going to be around for a very long time. And he claimed, quote, I like this quote, "The magic is going to be completely pairing off RippleNet transactions with on-demand liquidity, because I think after getting that perfectly paired transaction for the first time ever, you'd be able to say that money moved with the data." Yes, indeed, settlement in real time is a thing. RippleNet announced its strategic partnership with MoneyGram for cross-border payments and foreign exchange settlements using digital assets back in June 2019. I think that's very cool stuff. So anyway, corridors being built out. MoneyGram could not be happier, and they'd stated previously, in case you hadn't heard me talk about that, there have been articles about this. Alex Holmes, MoneyGram CEO, called up Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse within the last few weeks or so, having a little talk about him, how they'd like Ripple to roll this all out a little bit faster, but you really can't do it with the snap of a finger, because there's all sorts of regulatory implications. You have to have the liquidity in place, and then all sorts of other partnerships. So it really does take a long time to roll this out. And so if you're wondering, how is it that Ripple has over 300 customers in production contracts, but only a couple dozen or so are utilizing on-demand liquidity, XRP. If you're wondering why, that's why. It takes a long time to build this out, but everything's fine. It's all coming along. There's real utility, and everybody that's using this and publicly speaking about it, they're absolutely raving about it. All right, next, this is a tweet that I was tagged in along with a few other XRP community members. It's from a Link to the Future, who is at XRP Force on Twitter. And so it's in reference to something that Brad said in a very recent interview. In terms of the crawl, walk, run phase, I'm sure many of you heard him talk about. He said that he says we're in the walking phase, and he says in the marathon that is the world of global payments infrastructure, including settlement, of course. We're at mile 2 of 26, and so here you go. You got an XRP coin running at mile marker 2 of 26. Thank you very much for tagging me in this, sir. I do appreciate it. Last piece for this video. Again, this one's titled, it's from Daily Hodl. Viral video shows Bitcoin newbie surviving on planet Earth for 24 hours without cash or credit. Only Bitcoin. It was kind of funny the way he started it. Imagine if you spawned in the middle of nowhere and all you had was 1 Bitcoin to survive. Something to that effect. So, yeah, it's worth checking out. I mean, this guy looks like Gordon Ramsay. Anyway, the popular YouTuber Ryan Trahan has released a Bitcoin survival video for his 2 million subscribers. Since Tuesday, I survived on only Bitcoin for 24 hours, has racked up over 350,000 views. Before setting off on his solo trek without any traditional money, he takes seemingly complex notions about Bitcoin and breaks them down in a few basic facts. There are three bullet points here. Number 1, Bitcoin is a baddie. 2, Bitcoin isn't backed by any government. 3, no one is the boss of Bitcoin. Trajan isn't exactly in the woods or far from civilization. Instead, he's surrounded by plenty of shops and Ubers. He tries to buy food, get a haircut, rent a scooter, book a room, and find a Bitcoin-friendly restaurant. Along the way, he hits a few bumps and discovers that several mom-and-pop stores that had once accepted Bitcoin are now out of business. Hungry and on the brink, Trahan decides that using gift cards to fuel his crypto lifestyle will grant him access to some big brands and corporate chains. The ultimate hack to securing food and lodging. Now, that did seem like a cheat to me, but whatever. It's something you can do with Bitcoin, so, whatever. They should have cited that it wasn't in the rules that he set for himself, so whatever. That he could do that. As for local shops, Trahan says there's basically no place for him to spend his Bitcoin. Despite his efforts to grasp how Bitcoin works and how to use it in everyday life, and after waiting for the Bitcoin network to process and settle his transactions, his message to the masses is Bitcoin is not convenient. And indeed, he was sitting there after he purchased I think it was a $20 gift card. And then for some reason, the way whatever wallet he was using was set up, he claimed that he couldn't conduct any other transactions until that thing actually settled. And so he was stuck waiting for Bitcoin for an hour or so. And then he voiced concerns about how long it would take to process additional transactions that he needs in order to survive within this 24-hour period here. While some crypto enthusiasts on Reddit gave the YouTuber a thumbs up for effort, others took issue with his final words about needing to sell Bitcoin before the next crash, which the way he said it, it was said in a joking manner, but he could be literally serious still. So I don't know what he thinks for sure. But, oh, Bitcoin, you don't work. you do not work. At least if he had used XRP, you still couldn't spend it anywhere, but at least it'd be really fast, right? You can buy you can buy some gift cards with it, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I've never even tried to do that. Because who's trying to use cryptocurrencies as money in 2019? Well, Ryan Trahan is. He's pretty much the only one. Within the entire 24-hour period in the whole world, it was this guy. He was the only one trying to use any cryptocurrency on the planet for, in the place of money. Because you don't really need to do it. Anyway, nonetheless, interesting video, and if you do watch it, I think you'll enjoy it. He seems like a funny dude. But anyway, that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!